We're going to look at soil formation. How is soil formed? Remember we talked about the framework of soils, which are the clay, gravel, silt, and sand. How are they formed? They are formed by a process known as... Dictionary meaning of weathering is to break down. Yes, to break down. Now, soil particles are formed by process of weathering of rocks. So soil is formed by rocks. Have you seen a big outcrop rock? Have you seen huge stones? All stones are rocks. They are small rocks. But over some time, those rocks, small particles break off a little at a time for so many years, very many years, up to hundreds or even thousands of years. And in the end, we have this soil that we have right now. Well, you could quicken that process so that it doesn't have to take so much time. How? Maybe by crushing the rock. Maybe by crushing the stones. You end up with small soil particles which you can add humus to and water. And yeah, you have soil. But naturally, it happens by process of weathering. Weathering is the process by which large rock particles break down to form small soil particles. And there are three types of weathering. Physical weathering is that process of breaking down a large rock particle into small soil particles by physical means. So what are those physical means? Well, wind can blow so that very tiny particles go off that rock. Sometimes it can be because of erosion. Particles, let's say on a mountain, rolling down, maybe glacier, big ice particles going down a mountain, and they break off just a small part of the rock. And maybe as running water flows by, it's just a small bit of it. And maybe particles roll on the rock, very little particles. It's okay. Over time, we get all the soil that we want. So physical weathering is that process by which soil is formed by physical means. Physical means including the causing agents could be how much of the soil can they really break off a rock? It doesn't matter. They are broken off a little part of the rock to form very few soil particles that will accumulate over time. Also, changes in the temperature fluctuations. Pictures have already shown, especially those islands where nobody has been, that you'll find a rock, and on that rock you'll find small stone particles around it, which broke off from the big rock. Well, who broke them? Maybe they broke off because of the cracks that were caused due to the expansion and contraction of the rock. And where that stops, the other factors lead on. So that's all about physical weathering. What is chemical weathering? That's the process of breaking down large rock particles to small soil particles by chemical means. And how does that happen? See, carbon dioxide is part of the atmosphere, the air we breathe in. Now, carbon dioxide reacts with rainwater to form a weak solution of carbonic acid. Now, that acid, as it comes down with the rain, it reacts with components of the rock and dissolves them so that small particles break off. So, carbon dioxide gas it's been proven to actually take place. So it forms, well, this is a weak solution of carbonic acid together with the rain, and as it hits those rocks, as it goes through the soil, it dissolves some parts of the rocks so that they break off, because it reacts with the components that make up the soil. For example, the iron to ions that make up the soil. For example, the aluminium ions that make up the soil, making them to dissolve, and then small particles break off. A lot of chemistry right there. And then biological weathering, just the way it sounds, has to do with living organisms taking part in making soil. Do you take part in making soil? Maybe you do. Some organisms actually grow in the cracks that are within rocks. You know, for example, plants causes the cracks to even become wider. These roots, well, this plant will grow, its shoots will grow in the cracks, it will die away, another one will come, and eventually that part of the soil goes off. Also, big animals like elephants and buffaloes walking across those rock particles, they break off very small pieces, very small, but those pieces actually eventually pile up to make the soil that we know. So that is number 2. A small particle of a rock. Maybe you haven't, maybe you have. Also, organisms like lichens and small plants grow on those rocks. Organisms die, they form humus, which is a component of soil. And those are some of the ways that soil is formed, especially by living organisms. Therefore, we've looked at the ways soil is formed by physical means, by chemical means, and biological means. And that's all about weathering and soil formation.